Good morning, viewers. Welcome to Frankly Speaking with Vibhuti Jha. We are now witnessing a time period in which the 2020 elections are right around the corner. It almost seems right around the corner. Although the excitement, the buzz of the previous election is missing because of Wuhan virus, as I prefer to call it, has made everybody go down under the blanket, or if not underground, like Joe Biden is himself. So the question here is that we have recently seen the conclusion of Democratic Convention. The election is very tight, very fierce, remarkably vicious as well. Because as I noticed in the election campaign of Democratic Convention, there was only one point agenda, it seems, that is somehow defeat Donald Trump. As if the Democratic Party has no agenda of its own at all, except defeat Donald Trump. Even President Obama, he was talking about the world will not be the same if Obama wins again. Hillary Clinton is trying to trash the electoral college system, which was established centuries ago for a very particular purpose. It makes sense. Otherwise, New York and California will decide what happens in the country, as if the remaining 48 states have no right. So we are looking at a remarkably divisive country, remarkably divisive election, very bitter. People are holding on to their stand, and the polarization is quite complete. There is no party of love, as Democratic Party used to call themselves. They are not a party of love. There is no sign. They didn't even invite Tulsi Gabbard to get involved in any single way in the convention, despite the rule being that if somebody has even one delegate, they get a chance to speak. You give chance to speak to AOC, but not Tulsi Gabbard, because she swore on Bhagavad Gita when she took the oath in the house. These are very telling elements for us Indians, and that's very important for us to know. Because from 1992, when I came to this country, 91, I have seen that this country has always been trying to fix the problems. But every president has been talking about fixing Washington. Nobody did anything about it. Then comes a man in 2016, Donald Trump, who knows the ropes of the tricks in this country. And he did begin to fix some of the problems. You don't shake the establishment overnight. But the Indians who have never played any role, significant role in the United States presidential elections, this time have a voice. And to that end, it is shaping up to be a very, very interesting election, because Mr. Biden's campaign has no India, no Hindu related policy, but they have policies for everybody else. We have been left in the lurch. We have been taken for granted. There is a major upsurge in the Indian community about Mr. Trump. He has strengthened relationship with India. He has had great equation with Prime Minister Modi. Both of them have a very strong country streak, nation streak in them. One talks about make in India, other talks about make America great again. There is a convergence of mind and convergence of thought process. Now, today I have great privilege in welcoming three of the participants, Indian participants in this election who will be active on my show today, three of them. Srilekha ji is here. She is an executive in the medical field, and she has been very active in the world of medicine and the administration of medicine. Srilekha ji, welcome to the show.
Namaste, Vibhuti.
Thank you, thank you. I have the pleasure of Mr. Ravindra ji. He is an artificial intelligence man with a machine learning experience and expertise. And in addition, he's a very active socially and politically, and he has a very strong humanitarian streak in him. So Ravindra ji, welcome to the show.
Namaste, dhanyavad Vibhuti ji.
Thank you. And then I have Dr. Krishna Bhatta. Krishna Bhatta ji is actually from Bihar. For the reasons of full disclosure, I am from Bihar. Dr. Krishna Bhatta is from Bihar. He's in Maine. Srilekha ji is in Virginia. And Ravindra ji, where are you located?
I'm also from Virginia.
Oh, you are also from Virginia.
Yeah.
And Dr. Krishna Bhatta is a urologist, surgeon, and he has written books on Hindu spirituality. Life After Life is the name of his book. I'm very grateful to receive that book from you, Doctor. And I will definitely read, and I definitely enjoyed the context in which you wrote the book, and you are sharing the contents of that with the world around you. So welcome all three of you. You guys have, all three of you have shared with me that Ab ki baar Trump sarkar ek baar phir, right? Something like that you are talking about. Ab ki baar phir Trump sarkar. So tell me one.
Trump ki dusri pari.
Dusri pari, that's very nice. So, you know,
right.
dusri pari. So we will, it's like the second inning of the cricket analogy.
Yeah.
So let me begin with Srilekha ji to say, how did you germinate this idea of Ab ki baar phir Trump sarkar, dusri bari? How did you come up with this thought process? What inspired you to become a Republican, vote Republican, that you are appealing to all Indians?
So Vibhuti Ji, long story short, I voted for Democrat under Obama's administration the first time around. I had the privilege and honor of meeting Obama during his second term re-election campaign. So while I was meeting him, I was present when he did a rally speech himself. And the minute he started rally speech, I did not hear one positive statement about America from Obama throughout his 45 minutes of speaking rally. All he did was be divisive. He criticized the United States. And I come from South India, and I come from Indian background where I am taught about being patriotic to your parents, patriotic towards your country. So that really did not sit well with me. So I was a typical Democrat, just went to his rally, heard his divisive speech, and came back really looking for alternative mode of political party. And that's when I started reaching out to Republican colleagues of mine. In fact, I had the privilege of shaking Mr. Obama's hand and speaking to him for a bit. But I think what did not sit well with me is how unpatriotic he was. I mean, I'm looking at an African-American president who was put on a pedestal by American public, all of us embracing him, white America, Asian America, just America in general, embracing him with open arms. And all I heard was hatred towards America. That truly did not sit with him. That's how I started learning about conservative principles, started not listening to what Democrats dictate Indian Americans should be like, learned about conservative principles, started serving in the local Republican Party and getting involved in National Republican Party politics. And just really enjoyed the fact that I, as an Indian American, came to this country with actually conservative principles. I was just told by people around me to be a Democrat. So I think this was a true reflection of what my principles were, and thereby I turned Republican, and I've been a Republican ever since.
That's truly remarkable. That's truly remarkable that from a Democrat, you heard him speak, and then you found that he was not patriotic enough. That's a pretty serious observation you have made, because Mr. Obama is a very loved president. Successful or not, only history will judge him. But what definitely annoys me, that when Michelle Obama and Barack Obama talk about the racial divide and all that is wrong with the society, they had 8 years of uninterrupted run. They were, for 8 years, they were such a beloved leadership role in the White House. Why they didn't do anything about the racial challenges? What did they do? They didn't even close Guantanamo. He was busy trying to get the immigration matter regularized, but without regularizing the actual scenario of the frustration of the Blacks in this country. So, Dr. Bhatt, I would like to hear from you is that, 80% or 90% of the Indians are Democrats and vote Democrats. What is it that is driving them to Trump, in addition to the fact that, Mr. Trump has been very friendly to India? And I find that the Democratic Party is very, very unfair with India and the sufferings of Indian people, for them, all that matters is human rights of Muslims. And I dare say that, because if you talk about the human rights of Muslims alone, then you are not talking about the human rights of minorities in Afghanistan, Bangladesh, and Pakistan, where they lead a really wretched life. So how do you think 80 or 90% of the Indians in this country who vote Democrat switch to Mr. Trump?
Yes, Vibhuti Ji, I think you are right about 80-20, but I think in last Trump election, I think it started shifting a little bit. And after that Howdy moment in Houston, when people saw the chemistry between Trump and Modi, that I think affected a lot of people. And it's not just the chemistry because there are two people, but also the policies that Trump has taken towards India and towards world in general. Like, if you see terrorism, he's very strongly against terrorism. If you see who can stand against China, Trump has shown that he can stand against China, because the world, it's not just US election, the whole world politics is at stake here. There are many, many issues on play, and many countries will be trying to influence what happens here or will benefit from what happens here. So it's one thing to see it as a US election, but it's also to see what US will be in the world stage after this election happens. So, it's like emotional and rational. I mean, so if you become emotional, you may have a different approach. But if you are rational, you see what policies are in this country, what policies, how it will affect other countries. And definitely, I think Trump is a better bet for Indian future than Biden and Kamala Harris, at least in my view.
I think I totally agree with you, because, in the case of the vice, there has been a whole lot of, I coined a word called sentimental and emotional. I coined a Sandhi Vichhed, I made a word called sentimotional.
Nice
So
word.
we Indians are very sentimental people. That's the word, I must copyright on that. So Indians are very sentimental. Oh, it is an Indian heritage, as we always like to claim. Every newspaper is talking about the first ever Indian, but Kamala Harris never claims to be Indian. She doesn't claim to be naturally tan like you and I. She talks about being black, the first ever black woman. She's on record saying that. And now suddenly, everybody wakes up to the fact that her mother, 5 feet tall and whatever, came here, and Indian values. There's no Indian value there. There must be something, DNA you have, Indians. But Ravindra Ji, what I want to hear from you is, why is it that Joe Biden, how did Democratic Party end up electing a 78-year young man to lead this with a age gap of 25 years between Harris and Mr. Biden? And Mr. Biden has never been, he's a great experience, has a great experience in foreign relations, but he's been 50 years in the Congress and Senate and in the government. I mean, what more is there to achieve than the last ambition of Charan Singh that I should be a Prime Minister of India for 3 months? So I have a feeling, I'm telling you this, I believe in conspiracy theories because they can't be proven, but you can't deny the validity of that, in the sense that I have a feeling Mr. Biden will retire or quit in the very first year, and thus pave the way for the first ever woman to be the president, and who will have a 3-year full run as the president of the country, a lady who failed miserably in her own presidential campaign.
Exactly.
That is something which I don't understand about Democratic Party. They're batting, to use the cricket analogy, on the back foot. And everything is about driving hatred towards Trump. How do you respond to this?
So absolutely, Vibhuti Ji, you are spot on. Joe Biden has been in politics, has been in power for long, very long. He has been And look at, like, I do not compare the people based on their individual personality. I go on the policies. What
Mhm.
kind of policies they are making? What is their impact in the
Right.
country across the globe?
Mhm.
If you look at, you compare what Joe Biden policy was there, foreign policy. Look at the history, like what happened in Middle East. Look at like India-China relation. Look at what was happening between Israel and Palestinian. Just compare, like we don't need to boil the ocean. We can always talk on multiple topic: economy, foreign policy, internal infrastructure, education, and all those part. But if we just take foreign policy itself, where Joe Biden claims to be very good at, look at like how the situation was in Middle East some time back, 2015, 2014. One of the reason I was so much disturbed when the event happened in Sinjar Mountain, rise of IS and all that. And now look at like what is happening. The situation has got much more stabilized since President Trump came into power from 2016 onward. And if you look at the Democratic mouthpiece, all these like Wall Street Journal, was New York Times, I've been seeing them spewing venom against India for no reason. And these people are supportive. Their stand on Kashmir, their stand on CAA is very, very much what basically we believe is the right thing. They never talk about like how Hindu population went down in Pakistan from almost 25% to like almost 1.9. So these people, they are not giving, they are trying to create the opportunity. They are trying to be opportunistic, exploiting whatever they can get for their gain without addressing any word problem. So I really don't. Trump is an outsider. He was an outsider in 2016. Even he runs the Oval Office in DC as an outsider. That is the reason there's so much of struggle between these two parties. They don't know how to handle him, but the people are connecting now. Right now, it's the social media. You just can't. Even the clip you have in 1971, whatever you said on during your college days, that is available, so people know what were your views before and what were your views now. So it's not easy to go back and fool the people around.
Right.
So, yeah, my focus is more on policies. Go to the policies, compare the fact, take the emotion out of the picture, and then compare like who is doing good for the world, for the economy, for better relation, and then there's a less war, there's a more focus on education infrastructure. So those are my key comparison points.
No, that's very valid, because politics is about policy, and in the Democratic Convention, I saw no policy pronouncement at all. It was all Trump, hate Trump, hate Trump. Trump is a bad guy. Trump will ruin the country. I mean, so much so that Mr. Obama made a ridiculous statement that he has not even tried to be the president. Now that brings about what you rightly said: performance, policy. And I noticed one thing very clearly, that Mr. Trump has taken remarkably unpleasant decisions. And the only flaw that I will tell him, if it is a flaw, that is too blunt. वो संस्कृत में कहते हैं ना, सत्यम उवाच प्रियम उवाच. He has not known how to tell the truth beautifully. But he uses the word beautifully, but he really is very frontal in his attack. So he took on Europe, the entire NATO, head on, that you guys are not giving your fair share of your national GDP to the fund of NATO, which is meant to protect Europe. He made them pay. He made them pay to protect Europe. They are annoyed with him. You have China that is annoyed with him because he called China out for their manipulating the economy, manipulating the tariffs and currency. He called Islamic terrorism out. Nobody had ever made those statements. He called Iran's bluff out, canceled the agreement. The guy did things which were politically incorrect, and he was bold about it. To credit to Mr. Trump, he hasn't waged a single war. On his watch, there has been no war. So there is a war machine which is unhappy. So he has made various electoral blocs, various support groups unhappy, who would normally say nice things about him, but he has made them all unhappy. He has outed the Democratic Party's remarkably poor policy plank of unfettered immigration and offering things for free in a country where that taught us there is no free lunch. So Dr. Bhatt, There is no free lunch. You can do things for charity. How do you think about Trump policies that has appended the equation in the American politics that you and I like, but the others don't? So how do you comment on that?
So Vibhuti Ji, of course, he has created people who are strongly against him. Like you mentioned, Biden, the whole Democrat convention was, anti-Trump kind of thing. But he has also created supporters who are die-hard supporters for him. And some people call them silent voters. So, if I meet my patients or if I meet my friends, my colleagues who don't know what my leanings and thinkings, and if they somehow open up to me, they feel Trump is doing great thing for America. Like all these big companies, Apple can bring their money back in, or manufacturing coming back to America, jobs coming back to America. Of course, COVID has taken a lot of, things out. But all those economic decisions, also strong decisions he took that, some people like. So there is a lot of people who like, and I think there is a lot of Indian population of that 80% that was voting Democrat, I think will shift in this election towards Trump. At least that's my view. And we will try to do that. That's one of the things that me, Raviji, and Srilekha ji are working on. And so, yes, he has created strong enemies, for lack of word. But he has also created a lot of support system, people who strongly support him.
Absolutely correct, because that's the law of physics. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So while he has been very forthcoming in taking actions. So while he has upset the apple cart of many, he has also created a support bank. So Srilekha ji, how do you account for the fact that Mr. Trump has been, very clear on law and order? Very clear. In the 2016, he said he's a law and order president. Today, you see, Democratic Party is breaking all laws. I mean, who wants another Shaheen Bagh in this country? We did not leave India to come back to a democratic socialism, which ruined that country. That India is getting out of democratic socialism, and this country, without any experience of democratic socialism, I don't know whether they have any idea about it, but they are definitely disrupting the social fabric of which you and I and everybody is part of. And that's what is creating a fissure or the anxiety in the Indian community, who doesn't believe in paying high taxes. So Democratic Party are promising things for free and social disturbance to mount. There's no police here. I mean, New York City, my city, New York City recently, I think not today, but on Thursday, I think, they disbanded 100 forces who are called first responders. Now, I heard on a radio program, which is 100.3, completely liberal, and those hosts were talking about New York City is going to dogs. So look at the scenario that democratic run cities are going to the dogs, literally. And you and I do not want our cities to become a chop center or a violence center. How does that inspire Indian community, which is generally peaceful, generally law-abiding, to kind of shun that strategy?
Vibhuti, what a great question for this right timing, right? As Reagan once said, I'm a very big fan of Ronald Reagan. I read a lot of his stuff. Once Reagan has said that we must reject the idea that every time a law is broken, society is rather guilty than a lawbreaker, right? It is time for us to restore the American precept that every individual is accountable for their actions. So if that particular police officer has created a mistake, specific that particular police officer should be reprimanded. The entire law enforcement office department in itself should never be reprimanded for something a person did, because there are bad apples in every community. That is precisely what Democrats tend to miss. Every time there is a mishap in a community, every time there is a mishap when it relates to guns, every time there is a mishap with regards to law enforcement or healthcare professionals, or any other department for that example, they want to create more regulations to curb everything. So that's where I think common sense policies come into picture, not emotional policies. That is the biggest difference between Democrats and Republicans. Also, going back to police officers and law enforcement, as an immigrant, I can tell you that if we lose freedom in this great nation of America, there is no place for us to escape to. That is what Indian American, especially women that vote Democratic based on emotional stuff, needs to understand, that we can't escape back to anywhere else. This is the last on earth. So let's protect that. Also, I think we have two medical professionals here, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of medical professionals watching this. I'll say that law and order are the medicine of the body, and when the body gets sick, medicine must be administered, and that's law and order. So we cannot blame the police officers for doing the right thing. Above all, I feel like our law enforcement officers in the past few months have called upon to bear a special burden, and they did it with courage, valor, and love for the country. We need to respect them. We need to be inspired by them. Every time there is crime in big cities such as Chicago, Minneapolis, Seattle, we need to go back and say, who has been ruling these people? For the past 50 years, in Baltimore is being run by Democrats, and Baltimore is considered to be one of the infested cities and one of the cities that has the highest crime. So there goes. Those are the examples that I can state for you to say that Republican Party is for law and order, Democratic Party is for punishing the law and order.
That's a very great response you gave for that. And that's what bothers me. I lived in California. I now live in New York. And both these places, I see significant decline in the quality of life in terms of the maintenance of the quality of life itself. So for example, you have a scenario that in New York now, when I came in 91, I remember very clearly what 42nd Street looked like, that entire downtown Manhattan. I was warned by my international director of HR of American Express, that you might, if you go into an area where you suspect, keep $20 and a cheap watch on your hand. If somebody asks you, give it. Because if you don't have anything to give, you will have problem. Now, I have seen Manhattan from that time till Giuliani and Bloomberg fixed it, maintained it well. Today, it's the center of the world in terms of tourism potential. Look what Bill Blasio is doing, again, a Democratic run place. So every single Democratic run place is in a mess. So I do not know what 80% of the Indians who are Democrats, what are they cheering the Democrats for in reality? Just because they talk about open immigration and they offer things for free, are we willing to sell our soul for these false promises? I do not know that, but I would like to hear from you. Given the fact that time is always a constraint for a conversation of this kind and we can talk endlessly, but to take the analogy of cricket, you have three types of cricket being played: T20, 1 day 50 overs, and then you have 5-day test match. You are three of you here with me today. Pick one strategy and say that in the next 70 days or next 65 days, what strategies you will adopt to ask Indians to look at Trump more seriously and vote for him. So, Srilekha ji, ladies first, I will give you the first choice to pick your format and give your strategy for that.
I'll go with 1 day match. With 70 plus days that we have, we can play a test match right now. I think the key for winning is, Vibhuti ji, voter contact, right? Knock as many Indian American doors as you possibly can. Arrange some MAGA meetups with swing voters. I mean, I wouldn't waste my time in the 70 days to focus on ultra liberals. I can't change them. I'm neither their mom, their sister, and I don't care for them anymore. I think my focus is first-time voters, I call them as low-informed voters, but they're willing to do the right thing. And then independent voters that are reasonable. And you'll be surprised, a lot of Democrats, soft Democrats who really care about law and enforcement and all the crazy things that are going on. I think I'll do a lot of voter contact. I'll do a lot of mega meetups. I'll do a lot of door knockings, a lot of phone bankings, and just breathe. And I always say, live, breathe, every minute Trump 2020, and do whatever we can to kind of get voter engagement. I think those are the strategies at this point we have to implement at ground level to make this happen.
I suppose Manga Anantamula is very happy to have you in Virginia. I hope you are supporting her District 11.
Yes, sir, I am. If you don't mind, I'm also going to focus on one thing, since we are talking about our coalition, which I'm sure Ravindra Ji will also elaborate on it. I cannot dismiss social media platforms, right? That is what our coalition is doing right now, because people have short-term memory. So we want to use our Twitter, Instagram in spreading out great images that are coming out of our coalitions to ensure that we are using these global platforms, comparing Democrats and Republicans and putting a stance out there. So that's where our coalition is playing a huge social media platform advertisement right now in support of Republican Party, and in also making very objective statements, not emotional statements, but very objective statements.
Brilliant, brilliant. I'm very happy that you chose your very clear mind, the one-day one-day international format, and you are very clear about what you are going to do. So Ravindra Ji, I will not give you any choice. You are artificial intelligence and machine learning. You have T20. Now, T20, if you played this T20 game in this election right now, going forward, what things that need to be done with the help of technology, in addition to social media, that we can reach out to people? And Srilekha ji is absolutely right. I'm not going to reach out to the extreme liberal left-wing groups, but the people who are the undecided, people who are in the middle, how are we going to impress them to, particularly in the battleground states, where the first time Indian votes will matter, because
Absolutely.
battlegrounds. So go ahead.
No, absolutely, Vibhuti Ji. So I definitely, if you look at our strategy in T20, so we do not have like multiple inning. We just got only one inning here.
Right.
So what we need to do our
You can
ground
play T20 every day, but then you have to have a strategy.
Exactly. So we need to do our homework properly, because we are not going to get the second chance. We got one inning, we need to play it very well.
Correct.
So our strategy, basically, we go based on the fact, based on the policies. Data, I am coming from artificial, where data is the key. Data is the new oil. So we present key facts, key information to the people who might be getting biased by so many, like a lot of like media houses having a biased opinion. They are having a plan, agenda, what they want to propagate. So we are targeting the people. We are basically, I will not say even targeting, we are trying to connect to the people who are more receptive, who are more open, who are really curious to understand what are the gaps in these policies. And we are bringing data. We are bringing like very core data on the financial topic, on economics, on the foreign policies, how like Trump is going to be useful when he is going to stand with India against China. If you have seen the news recently, they're putting like in Trump is very much supportive what is going in the South China like sea, in all that local region, the disturbance whatever is going on. So my fact is, target the people in the swing state who are more receptive, and we can understand, we can differentiate the emotion from the fact, and they can analyze what has been done before, what is currently happening since last 4 years. They have enough data to compare, and then let them realize on their own. See, as we said, like Srilekha ji said, even same with my case, when we came to this country, we are all pro-democratic. But then when I see their foreign policy, when I see anti-India faces, like there is no meaning to it. And I know very well the stand they takes against India is wrong. Stand they takes against like other like a good country and the kind of country they support, it's wrong. So I am seeing these key differences. I want to bring the same information in front of the people who are receptive. So that's our key goal is basically make these key information popular through social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and then like make sure if they have any question, like we response back to them. So that's my strategy.
Wonderful, wonderful. And Dr. Bhatt, you have no choice now. You have to play the test match format. But the test match format, we can always do the expansion of the scale. And, you know, it is like saying the chessboard game, chess game. I easily recall the chess game. You see the enemies, all the coins on the chessboard. What you have to essentially figure out, what is your opponent thinking in his mind, right? The moves that he is contemplating, and you have to play the moves accordingly. So keeping 70 days, remaining 65 days or 60 days or 70 days as a 5-day test match scenario, how do you think the group must play the game in terms of understanding? And I'll give you one example of that. What I mean by that as well is that, you know, all of us are very concerned about we have one common frustration, that the Democratic Party is not looking at India with a proper prism. They ought to be looking at India as its authentic partner. It's not Pakistan. It's not other countries who are your authentic partners. They are tactical partners. But in terms of the largest democracies, belief systems, we have a lot of commonality, diversity. There is a lot of commonality. But if America is proud to call itself the melting pot, well, India has been a melting pot forever in its history. It has home to every single persecuted religion in the world. So there is a commonality of purpose. Why that commonality of purpose doesn't come in is an important thing for us to handle and to reach out to the Indians who are biased as a Democrat towards the Democrat and not looking at from the real political point of view. How would you play that 5-day game?
So Vibhuti ji, you gave me the test match. So first of all, I have to eat something. So I like idli, and Kamala Harris likes idli. That's not a reason to vote Kamala Harris,
Correct.
just because I like idli. But more on a serious note, more important part is that the whole team is important, and in that team we cannot ignore RNC, Republican National Committee. So how do we bring a cooperation with them? How do we reach out to them? With that effort, I met Tommy Hicks, who is the co-chair of RNC, and he is very much pro-India, and he wants to work with us. And also, we met Swati Singh. We had a Zoom meeting with her. She is the Republican National Committee Strategy Director, and at least an Indian coming up there. So I think we are working what we are doing, but we also need to work as a whole team to win this match. And especially if it is a test match, the team is important. So a strong team that tells what we do and also points out what the other one stands for, because they are not telling the truth. You know, Kamala Harris will come to Indian function and say she has Indian origin, but when she stands on the other forum, she becomes, black, represents black. So how do we develop trust and no trust? Those things have to be done. And as you said, senti-emotional.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. So we don't have to be senti-emotional. We have to be pragmatic and at least, know what's going on.
Yeah, that's very, very true. The one thing which always bothers me is that we Indians have been remarkably disengaged. As a student of geopolitics, banking, and as a spiritual leaning, you have to be engaged with yourself. You have to be engaged with the surroundings that you live in. You have to be engaged with the environment that you are in. Then only you can reap the benefits or the rewards of it. If you're not engaged, you become disassociated. We Indians have been very much for a very long time kind of a disengaged. And this is attributed to a very interesting conversation that I had once with a senator, because in my role, I always interacted with them. And one of them said, "We love you Indians as immigrants to this country. Majority of you are high quality professionals, you are highly educated, you have family values, you take care of your children, you are in the highest median income, you are least problem from the law and order side, right? And you ask for nothing. So we have never learned the art of asking. And that's what is getting us confused. Because when, even in Nassau County here, I mean, Indians go in hordes to meet the town supervisor and everybody else, but they do not know what to ask for. What do you want? The American will ask you, what do you want? Because you get what you ask for. This is something which I learned when I joined American Express Bank in India, that there was no pay scale as in the government sector. You negotiate your pay scale depending on what you promise to deliver, and you negotiate what you get. That's the whole arrangement here in this country. So we have never learned the art of asking because we have felt that it is not okay to ask. I'm happy as I am. Jo hamara hai, wo mujhe milega. That is the philosophy that in a modern century of 21st century technology driven, it is truly remarkable world we live in. I mean, I came to this country in 91 and we used to pay $3.50 for a call per minute to India. Today, video is free. So we have tectonics, we have seen tectonic shifts happen in technology, which is driving our behavior, our conduct. Have we changed? What must happen for Indians to assert themselves? That's something which is very important. We Indians do not know how to assert ourselves. Hum apologetic bahut jaldi ban jate hain. All three of you are welcome to take your pitch on this.
No, I think very, very critical point, Vibhuti Ji. See, that is where we need, like right now, if you see, we are getting a lot of leader in entrepreneur in technology industry, and then like in other like areas also. But we need to see the same kind of like enthusiasm towards like engaging with the society, like putting your task forward. We need a more unified platform where we can have a bigger voice, and then you can make sure. See, as you said, we are having a lot of positive thing. But then unless you go for like, we want certain specific thing to happen, like we know nobody likes to having an anti-Kashmir issue. Nobody wants like, so these are the issue. We need to first have bigger unified platform where our voice can be scaled collectively. And then we need to make a difference. We need to ensure like when we are dealing with the leadership, the entrepreneur, political leader, social leader, in academic world, in corporate world, in politics world, we need to take those people on those like points, and that's where we need to so we need to basically, whatever magic has happened in the corporate in technology especially, we need to create this similar level of phenomena with the same lot of like very smart people coming into politics, coming into social area and playing a bigger role. And that's a very, very like given the current situation and time, very, very, very like badly needed step for our community.
Thank you. Srilekha ji?
So, yeah, Vibhuti Ji, I know like when I say this, a lot of Indians get very offended, but with all due respect, I want to say that we Indians have to let go of slavery mentality. We should not act as though we are glorified slaves. We should present ourselves as confident individuals for all the right reasons that you've said. We do not expect anything from law enforcement. We are the least problem for the country. We contribute more for the country. We have family values. Our kids are very successful. So I would seek and request Indians to be more confident in their approach and not be so very self-centered, right? Let's get out there and volunteer in the mainstream America, support mainstream American causes, spend more time not always with your own community, but just get out and invite white and African American folks into your home. Just get ourselves integrated into what is so-called as mainstream America and not have that slave mentality at all. And also think it through and say that Mr. Biden, as he's coming in, think about him being in the White House. His prior statements about supporting China and their Western monetary interest in China. How does that help Indian Americans? I mean, they promise everything for free. Even in India, the free mentality is called a subsidized mentality, and we were totally against that subsidized mentality. So what makes us think that we want to come here and do the same thing? And last but not the least, I say Democrats have always accused India of human rights violation, but then they are supporting Antifa riots in here. So then as Indians, why do we hold on to the banners and say Black Lives Matter? Why won't we say all lives matter? Because my life matters, your life matters. So I think I would urge and seek Indians to get out of that slavery mentality and think it through and integrate into main American culture by being part of their lives and welcoming them into our lives as well.
Srilekha ji, I'm with you. I'm not one of those Indians who will get angry for you to say what you said, because I believe in that responsibility factor. I totally am with you that when people say that we have been ruled for thousands of years by the British and the Mughals and everybody else, I say only one thing: why did we let them do it?
Exactly.
And
Thank
I
you.
say that if you look at 1941 census, if you look up 1941 census of India, there were 145,000 British in India. That's it. Approximately 145,000 plus ladies and children. They ruled us millions, using our resources, using our people, using our army against us. Think about it. And they divided the country as they wished. That mentality, we have to take responsibility for that very importantly. But the other part is the doctor's part of it, which I would like to ask Dr. Bhatta here in this one, is that the Indians have to become more proactive. And, you know, our Sanatan Dharma is the key principle that the world must recognize and embrace. I mean, I feel pained to see that halal certificate is a global institution now, and our Sanatan Dharma and our practices, our people are afraid of it. I call that Hindu phobia. So what is Sanatan Dharma? It's all about, it is gender neutral, it is color neutral, it is non-discriminatory, it is accepting of everything and everyone as is, race neutral. This is exactly what Wuhan virus taught us, that it didn't discriminate. It was gender neutral. It was rich country, poor country neutral. It was rich man, poor man neutral. It was man, woman neutral. It was religion neutral. All the miracle makers of religion are today hiding in some hole. They can't claim that they can do miracle at this point in time. So doctor, the question to the inquiry which I have with you is, Mr. Trump has been attacked in the Democratic Convention that he didn't do the right thing, 165,000 deaths and all that. But my state of New York, California, New Jersey, Oregon, these were the states which were hit hardest. These are all Democratic run states. Trump gave them everything they wanted. These governors of these states are on record saying that Mr. Trump did everything we asked for, including the Navy ship, hospital ship that came here. And they are on record on TV that he and his team did everything. Now they're attacking that he didn't do what he should have done. That's the 2020 vision. That is, it's like, you know, I'm a student of arts, science, and economics. Even the physics question paper after the exam is easy for me. So it is like that for the Democrats, that yes, you could have done this, but that's not the way the cookie turns. Nobody is blaming China for this one. If Democratic Party is not even talking about, I mean, Pelosi talked about Trump virus. How shameful can they be?
Yeah.
So, Vibhuti Ji, I'll go back 5,000 years ago, and I have a chapter in that book that you have, The Journey from Life to Life, 5 Pillars of Success. So Krishna taught 5 pillars of success in Gita, in the 18th chapter. And the first pillar is platform. So we can have the best principle. If you don't have the platform, nobody cares. You have to build the narrative and you have to have the platform. Narendra Modi ji couldn't have done the same thing as chief minister that he can do from prime minister platform. So I think it's good that our Indian American now have got the corporate world, you know, they are CEOs there and you can see how much they can do. So should we be going more into politics and should we be going more? So I think, of course, you have to be capable of, which we know that we are capable of. We have high principles. We have Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. But those narratives won't mean anything unless we become like, now India is taken seriously because it's economically up there, it's militarily up there. When we were nothing, when we were getting PL 480, wheat from, when we had the famine in India, at that time, nobody listened to us. So I think, once we get somewhere, either in this country or India as a country, it will be a different world. My kids were so happy when Vajpayee government exploded that nuclear bomb. I mean, it was just, you could see it on their face. I mean, it just shows that yes, now, there is something happened, even though there were sanctions and all those things. But little things matter. And I think those principles of Bhagavad Gita, we forgot. We forgot Ram and Krishna. And then we slowly, historically, Chandragupta became Jain, Ashok became Buddhist. So all these big winners became, it's like gave their life away. And then slowly, India went into what you said, we stopped defending. We forgot how to attack and how to defend. So I think it's coming back. And sorry, I went on a rant on this.
No, you're absolutely
favorite
right.
topic.
Very relevant point. In
Very,
fact,
very good
because
points.
while we are supporting Mr. Trump, there has to be a valid reason for that. What we find here is that there is a link established with, he was the one who spoke things that we wanted America to speak. Because I have spoken with many senators here, I've said that, why do you expect India to support you? You preach us to do X, Y, Z, while as you do exactly what we don't want you to do.
Exactly.
So in that situation, how can we have commonality of purpose? So that is what we Indians have to realize, that people love us, our professionalism and our performance as people. What we have not done is to build a clout. And this is the time to have built the clout, because Democratic Party is doing what it is doing. It is completely anti-India. And everything is for the vote naam ke vaste. Now it is, Trump is talking sense. I mean, the Houston event and Ahmedabad event are eye-openers. That sent chills in the spine of the Democratic Party that two people could get along so well. But there is another important part here, and I will end that conversation with this here now. Because all the three, I use the phrase prominent democracies. I don't say large or big. The three prominent democracies in the world are America, India, and UK. I take them as that. All the three have definitely tilted right of center. The liberals they have no idea what to do about it. Modi ji has another 4 years to go. Boris Johnson has another 4 years to go. And if Trump wins here, so you see a pivot of three countries, a tripod of three countries, which have tilted towards the right. The liberal left is going nuts over this, because they know that once that happens, a lot of their cherished dream that Obama said, that I will change this country fundamentally, will go down the tube. And that's why these people are so desperate to upend the system, to bring it back to what they wanted. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been great having you to have this conversation. I have enjoyed it. I hope you did, and I hope the viewers enjoyed it too. My question here is, best wishes for your campaign to make Indians vote for Trump and make Trump's second term an equally successful one. So 3 cheers for that. Good luck with that effort and best wishes. Thank you, Dr. Bhatt. Thank you, Srilekha ji, and thank you, Ravindra ji, for being with us.